This is something you're given no training in. You're expected to do a great job at it, and people's career experience depends on it. Hi, if you're new here, I'm Anastasia. I'm 27 years old and I'm based in London. I work in a Big Four consulting firm. I do culture, leadership, change management work, and today I want to tell you about my experience starting to manage people as a junior person myself, tell you quite openly and honestly how it's been, but also what things I take personally as my guideline from the good managers I had. First of all, context. When are you expected to start doing this? The answer is very early on. The way that consulting firms are usually structured, at least mine is, you're an analyst on the graduate scheme for about 2 years' time. Some firms have 2 to 3 years. But then after that, you're usually promoted to consultant, and in my firm, after another 2 or 3 years, you're then promoted to senior consultant, and then in another few years' time, you become a manager. Then it goes on to senior manager, director, and partner. It was in my second year of being an analyst that I was already given people to manage. And even if you've been at the firm for half a year longer than someone else, there might be an expectation that you can manage them. A lot of it is very intuitive, a lot of it is guesswork, learning by doing, learning from the managers that you have yourself. But what I definitely can say is you're given no training whatsoever on how to be a good manager. There are a few things that I was trying to debate in my brain and trying to balance. Number one is overseeing someone versus giving them the space to work independently and not micromanaging. I found this to be probably one of the biggest questions in my leadership style, because what I know for sure is I do not want to micromanage, and I want people to feel that I trust them, that I give them space to do their work. I do really want to really nurture that aspect of things where the person feels that they are free and independent and valuable and they contribute actively to the thing. At the same time, managing even more junior people than me, I know that sometimes I definitely benefited from some more guidance and from some more feedback. And after doing a few iterations of my work, as much as that's annoying, I felt like, yeah, it did help me improve. So all of the freedom stuff has to be balanced with some sort of touch points and, sometimes course correcting someone and just overseeing their work and making sure that you don't let them run free for long enough for them to just go in a wrong direction and then waste their time. I do think the truth is somewhere in the middle. The best managers that I've had, I think, gave me the space but also gave me guidance. Thing number two is managing capacity. The thing that I maybe underestimated, that initial stage of upskilling someone, or not even upskilling necessarily, but just making sure that you're on the same page about what you need to do. That takes a lot of time, a lot of effort, and a lot of energy from you as a manager. I think that definitely needs to be something that you keep in mind when you plan for your capacity, when you think that, oh, here's this thing that we need to prepare for the client, but I have another person that can help me, so it's going to take less time. Not necessarily. I think long term, after you've done a few things together and you are adjusted to your work style and you know how to best work together, it's definitely going to save you time. But at first, it might even take you a bit longer than if you did it yourself. Final thing that I found challenging and I'm still navigating is, when do I, as a relatively junior but a person managing someone, when do I have the authority to make a call on some of the content we're producing? I don't know. I don't know. And I think it really varies with the deliverable, with the capacity of the person above you who's more senior than you. Different teams will have different stuff in terms of approaching this. I think some managers where you're, say, a consultant and then there's an analyst that you're managing, some managers will just give free rein to the consultant and be like, save me the time, I have other priorities to focus on. Some managers I've seen be much more involved in detail and they like to review everything. There's not as much decision power that gets delegated to that middle person. It really depends on the personalities of the people you work with, how you work with them, whether they trust you, have you worked together before. You have to really think about what's within the scope of my authority and what can I decide versus what decisions do I actually need to check with the person further up from me. Final section of this video, I want to tell you what in my mind good manager looks like and what would I aspire to be and what I hope to be. The good managers that I've had that I really enjoyed working with, I think they share these qualities. One is that they care about people, and that's a very straightforward thing to say, and you would hope that in an area of consulting where you work on people related stuff, there would be people who like people and care about people. But there's all sorts of people among the people. When it comes to soft skills and people manager skills, I love the analogy of being a good dancer versus being able to be a good dance teacher. Battery has died, so we have moved to a charging point. I do think it takes so much more to be a good teacher / be a good manager, not just be a good dancer or be a good worker at what you do, at whatever your area of expertise is. The things that I really appreciate is one, when a manager cares about my career goals and what I want to achieve. Best practice, at least in my firm, and that does tend to happen more often than not, is at the start of a project, the manager would put in a check-in with me, get to know me, and just ask, what do I want to get out of this project and how can we basically adapt my role to make sure that I can achieve those things and I can get the skills that I want, I can get the experience that I want. I do think that that is particularly important because the managers have the pressure as well of balancing this with project needs, what's in the statement of work, what you're actually contracted to do. So sometimes there'll be some boring stuff that just needs to get done and someone has to do it. You're the more junior person, the most likely is going to be you doing the boring stuff. It does mean that sometimes you can't have everything that you want from your role, but it does take a very good manager to kind of carve out that thing and make sure that you get at least a little bit of what you want to develop in. Thing number 2 that I really appreciate and I would love to be myself is to really champion well-being and firstly take care of the person you're managing, but also, actually just as importantly, really model the behaviors that you think are healthy and to set the boundaries yourself, to have work-life balance yourself so that others on your team, particularly the people who are more junior than you, feel comfortable to do the same. Because even though in my firm and probably in all Big Four, or all consulting firms, I think that are kind of current with the times, mental health is a big topic. It's on the table, people talk about it, there's all the mental health awareness campaigns, there's all the resources, and we have a support hotline and mental health champions. That's all well and good, but honestly, it's so rare that I actually see senior leaders modeling those behaviors. There's a lot of talking, there's not as much doing, because in the face of the realities of consulting, where there's so much pressure to make profits, to make sales, there's so much pressure to deliver to the client above and beyond what they paid for so that you win more work. All of that tends to mean that the well-being stuff doesn't happen in practice and teams can be overstretched, people burnt out, and really, it's a big corporate firm. The profits are the main aim. Your well-being isn't. It's only if there's a very good and strong-willed, strong-boundaried manager who cares about you. It's only in that case that you actually get someone protecting your well-being. 2 final things that I've seen from the managers that I really admire. One is that if there's a challenging conversation to have with the client, with partners, directors internally, they take it on. Ultimately, the role of a manager it has many faces. One of them is, delegate the work, but the other one is that they need to also shield the junior people from all that goes on higher up, like the internal politics, like the commercial conversations that can be very tricky to have. If the client is not happy with anything, really that should be on the manager to deal with, not on the more junior person. And finally, if something goes wrong, or if the junior person makes a mistake, that is up to you to stand up for and take accountability for, because even though it might not be your mistake, even though there might be a crisis that has nothing to do with you or your work or what you've done, it's still your responsibility to take that on and manage that and resolve it and sort it. So that concludes my honestly rant / brain dump. If you have any thoughts, let me know. And I do have a lot of stuff on consulting and career chats just like this one in this playlist here or there or here. I don't know, man. Just have a look, really. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.